Hi! I've been making game-related videos a while now, and one question I've gotten repeatedly is will I do a game play session with fans? Well, my reservation about this has always been, how do I decide who gets to play? I hate having to leave people out. So, as you probably guessed, I'm going to start having play sessions with fans in Planetside 2. Now, why Planetside? Well, it's the closest game I could find that fits the criteria I was looking for. First, it's free to play. You don't have to spend a dime in order to enjoy the game. I haven't. Second, it supports a lot of people. Planetside 2 servers can handle thousands of players. Now, there are some catches to that, but you can definitely have hundreds of players around you at a time if you want. Third, it's semi-accessible. There are a lot of free MMORPGs that support thousands of players too, but those all require huge time investments or you need to learn a bunch of different things. In Planetside, your bullets hurt just as much as the next guy's. Now this game does have a learning curve, but if you're not good at it or have never played it before, don't worry about any of that. I have you covered. Just watch to the end of this video. Your experience or even basic competence is not a requirement to join in. So this video is an invitation to play Planetside 2 with me. Assuming this doesn't go really badly or get too boring for people, I plan on doing this once a month. You can find the date of the next session in the YouTube description. Additionally, I'll stream the broadcast on Twitch. Now personally, I've never gotten into the watch somebody else monkey around in a game thing, but hey, why not? You can also use that to see where I am if you want to come find me in game. Now this is for the PC version of Planetside 2. This can be a demanding game, but you might be surprised what can run it. This is footage I recorded of it running on a system with an 8-year-old graphics card and a 7-year-old CPU. This actually looks worse than it is, because the frame rate dropped while I was recording, but I was getting about 30 to 45 frames a second normally. Now sure, it's not a premium experience, but hey, you can run it. Now this does require a 64-bit operating system, which I think is unfortunate because it didn't used to, and I want everybody to join, but hey, I don't make the standards. Okay, now if you have played Planetside 2, the big question everybody wants to know is, what faction will I be playing as? This was a difficult decision. All the factions have things to like and dislike about them. I was starting to lean towards one in particular, but then I realized the game had already decided for me. Let me explain. I've played a little bit on each of the factions, but I noticed something was bothering me. At one point, I was playing as the Terran Republic and fighting the new conglomerate, and I realized the HUD was working against me. My team was red, but they were showing my allies with small blue indicators. But the enemy was blue, so I had to shift gears whenever I saw someone in the distance to try and remember what color I should be firing at. This kept popping up and delayed my firing. It was like I could feel the hemispheres of my brain wrestling with each other. Now, you can change these settings in the options menu, but I'm trying to bring in hundreds, maybe even thousands of new players. And I want to keep things as simple as possible. If I got confused by this, somebody else will too. That's just how things work on the internet. So for that reason, above all others, we will be playing as the new conglomerate because they have a simple message that people can understand. And that message is, blue means good. Not blue means shoot. Neither the Vanu Sovereignty nor the Terran Republic can compete with that simplicity by default. Now, ideologically, I think I'd be closer to the Terran Republic because I like their message of peace by any means necessary, but I can't reconcile that. They're not blue. Besides, this isn't really a story-driven game, more of a bullet-driven game. Plus, they'll probably change this in the future, but look at this loading screen. 5 new conglomerate soldiers, 2 of them valiantly rescuing their comrade, another blowing some guy away like a badass, another fearlessly facing the enemy in hand-to-hand combat, and we've got this triumphant freedom angle on the airship here. This loading screen is an NC propaganda poster. The game wants us to be new conglomerate. It's using subliminal messaging and I picked up on it. So how is this gonna work? Well, I'm gonna join a game, people can come find me or head out on their own, and we're just gonna try and take as much territory as we can. Basically, if you join the new conglomerate, you're on the team. I don't plan on having an official outfit you need to join. This is going to be quite informal, and communication for me is going to be through Twitch and word of mouth through other players. I may even get some liaisons to help with the communication. This is going to be an evolving process. Now, I'm not the best Planetside 2 player, I'm just okay. However, against weak opposition, I feel confident that I can lead us to victory. Now, against strong opposition, well, that's why we're gonna need a lot of people. If you're a new player, you're welcome to come with me, follow the crowd, and just have a good time. If you're an experienced player or just want to see more action, I encourage you to fan out. I like soldiers that take the initiative. In the movie Kelly's Heroes, there's a renegade group of soldiers who decide to disobey orders and push behind enemy lines because they're trying to rob a bank full of Nazi gold. Well, their general doesn't realize this, and instead of reprimanding them, when he hears they're taking town after town for the Allies on their own initiative, he wants to promote every last one of them.
We got logistics coming out of our ears. What we need is fighting spirit, the will to win.
Well, I'm a little like that general. If you think you have a better strategy than me, or have a group of experienced players to go and prop up our advance elsewhere, you go for it. Don't wait on me. A lot of the people with me will be the equivalent of the wading pool, where everybody's splashing around in their rubber duck inner tubes. So if you're an Olympic swimmer, you need to head out into the deep end where you can do more damage. Now, I've talked to some experienced Planetside players, and I've heard some criticisms. First, I may piss off the community by doing this because I'll be flooding the servers and stacking the teams in our favor. That is true. However, this is only going to be once a month. People will have time to take back the territory once we're gone. Plus, this is war. I'm not looking for a fair fight, I'm looking to win.
Our objective is to win the war.
Exactly. Plus, how cool would it be to say, oh, Planetside 2, huh? Oh yeah, I beat that game. Now maybe as time goes on, we'll try something different to keep it more interesting. We'll see. Any big changes or important information will be in the YouTube description, which I'll update. Now the other big criticism I've heard is that this won't be fun because there will be so many players, we'll just overwhelm everything and some people won't even get a chance to fight anyone. Well, I have two responses to that. First, this is Planetside. There's always going to be a battle somewhere. So if things are too boring for you where I am, break off from the group. Go to where the action is. You're still helping the team. Second, having played a fair amount of Planetside, I think it will feel downright cathartic to be taking base after base after base. Hey, maybe after we take over everything, we'll just decide to have rallies instead and just do stunt jumps. This is a flexible thing. Now, with that said, I want to warn everyone, this could end up being a complete train wreck. There are limits to how many players can join per continent, so even if you're on the same server, you may not be able to join up with me personally. The server may get full. I may not even be able to join the game I'm scheduled to play in. It may be hard to find me, since I'll be streaming at a lower resolution than I'm playing, so you may not be able to read my location. Also, we'll probably be playing on a North American server, but right now I'm in Europe, so my ping is almost certainly gonna suck. Twitch may disconnect, or the streaming may screw up. Hell, I've never even done live gameplay before. And I've even heard that if too many players are in one place, the server could glitch out. There are so many things that can go wrong with this, but hey, I'm gonna give it my best shot and we'll see what happens. Okay, that's all I have to say for Planetside players. Hope to see you there. But if you are new to the game, keep watching, because I've come up with a tutorial that will tell you everything you need to know. Planetside 2 is notorious for having new players join up, play once or twice, then never touch it again. And I think I know why. Hell, I did the same thing myself. Planetside 2 has one of the highest learning curves of any first-person shooter that is not a military simulator. It's daunting, discouraging, and doesn't explain itself that well. But it's not actually that hard as long as you know a couple things. I've watched several other tutorials out there and I haven't been satisfied with any of them. Oh, they give you some information, but they don't tell you what you really need to know. So I'm throwing down the gauntlet and saying this is going to be the best tutorial for brand new Planetside 2 players. So watch this and you'll be good to go. Now I'm not going to cover even half the things you can do in this game. I'm just going to cover the essentials so that you can have fun. This is the fun tutorial, not the complete one. Watch this tutorial to have fun. Okay, this tutorial is going to assume two things. One, that you can create a Planetside 2 account. It's not hard, you're already on YouTube, it's not much more complicated than that. Second, I'm assuming that you have played at least one first-person shooter. So you already understand concepts like strafing, jumping, aiming, and so on. Because I'm not going to explain stuff that's already in hundreds of other games. So let's get going. Now, as I mentioned earlier, you want to join the new conglomerate for the server we'll be playing on. Now, even though we're covering the NC, about 90% of this tutorial applies to the other factions also. Okay, first thing, this is not mandatory, but I highly recommend it. Go into the settings menu here and turn on sprint toggle. You're going to be doing a lot of running in this game. It's easier if you can just turn it on and off. You have unlimited stamina, don't worry about that. Next, you join a server, then a couple things can happen. It might send you to a training area, or it might just throw you into the battle. Also, you can select which class you want to play as, but that doesn't matter right now. The most important thing to know in this game is how to get to the battles. Otherwise, you're just wandering around aimlessly, and guess what? That's not fun. So I'm going to present you with every scenario I can think of, so you always know where to go. This will do so much for your ability to enjoy this game. Alright, scenario number one. You've just started and you want to get in on the action. Again, the game may start you off in the training area, it may not. If it doesn't send you to a place called Cobalt here, then we'll come to that in a minute. But if it does send you here, if you want to join everybody else, find this terminal here with the globe, click on the Use button, then pick a continent that's open to you. Once you've done that, if you don't care where you're going, you just want to fight, you may want to press the map button, then click on this instant action button over here. Next, you may have a cool drop-in sequence, kind of like the game Section 8, or you may just spawn somewhere else. Either way, you'll probably be killed pretty quickly. Now once you're dead, don't get confused by this revive timer. You don't have to wait that long. What you really want to look at is this green button here. Just click on this button once and you'll respawn. Only click once though. If it's been 10 seconds and you're still not respawning, that means you clicked it too many times. Just press it again. Sometimes if you're in a group, a medic might revive you before you respawn. May as well say yes if they do that, but you shouldn't count on that. Now if you're lucky, you'll respawn in a big group near the action and can just sort of follow the crowd from there. Following the group is usually a good move. They usually know the most direct route to the enemy. But let's talk about if you're unlucky and you spawn back at some remote base and now you don't know what's happening. So many other tutorials will just drop you here, like an abandoned child on a doorstep, then move on to talk about something else. But I want you guys to be like the Marines, ready for anything. So here's scenario 2. You've spawned at some base near the battle, but you don't know what to do. Well, to figure that out, you have to look at the map. Press the map key or press escape, then click on this icon and it will show you where you are. You may have to use the scroll wheel to zoom out a little bit until you can find your indicator. This game is all about territory. The goal of it is to take over as much as you can. So all the fighting is going to be along these front lines here. You pretty much always want to be either attacking an enemy base or defending one of your own along these lines. Now even this isn't quite that simple. You have to look at these map lines connecting the bases. If there isn't a yellow line connecting the enemy base to yours, you can't take it over. so you have to pay attention to where these lines are going. If you've ever played Onslaught mode in Unreal Tournament 2004, it's the same concept. So the general answer for spawning at some random base is you want to find the closest battle you can, then head over there. So here's scenario 3. You've spawned and you don't have to go anywhere because your base is under attack. How do you know this? Well, on the map, you'll see these little battle animations where you are, and you'll see something in the status screen here saying defend blah blah blah. I'll talk more about defense in a minute, but if you want, all you have to do is head outside and find some enemies to shoot. You're good to go. Remember, blue is good, not blue is bad. Except for these guys who think they're cute wearing pink skins, but don't sweat it if you shoot them by accident. They knew the risks. But let's say you're nowhere near the action. Scenario 4. You're in the middle of nowhere, have no idea where to go, and you're starting to panic. Ah! 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 Yeah, look at the map. How the hell did we get here? Well, what you want to do is press the map button, then hit that redeploy key. If you're already dead, click on the change spawn button here, and it'll bring you to the same place. If you ever think you're really far away from where you need to be, hit that redeploy button. So now what? Well, first let's look at our options. Scenario 5. You're trying to get back into the battle, and there are Sunderers available. Sunderers are mobile spawning vehicles that your teammates have set up, and they're usually pretty close to the battle. These are almost always your best option. Try to use these when you can. Now they may disappear because the enemy blew them up or the driver took off. If that happens, just find another one. But let's move on to scenario 6. You just want to shoot some dudes and get into the action, but there are no Sunderers available. Well, if you don't care which battle you're going to, you can try that instant action button again, but that may not be available. It has to recharge. So the next step is to look at what your spawn options are. One thing that many tutorials don't tell you is that this spawn menu is law. You can't spawn anywhere you want, even if you own the territory. Whatever this menu says, that's all you get to pick from. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. Again, if you don't care where you want to go, these options where it says reinforcements needed are probably your best bet for some action. Don't go to the warp gates unless you're trying to change continents, like at the beginning with that globe terminal. No one will be fighting there. Now, if you don't like these options at the bottom, or you want to spawn near a specific battle, then look at these at the top. Then we move on to scenario 7. You want to get to the closest battle, but you're still some distance from the action, and there are no Sunderers. This is the worst case scenario, and it can happen a lot. If you're lucky, there may be somebody giving rides. You can walk up and press the use key to hitch a lift, but don't count on it. Some of these bases may not even have vehicles. If this happens, your only option is to suck it up, take a look at your direction on the map, and simply walk to the next base. Either that, or you decide you don't really want to hike out to this base, in which case go back to scenario 6. And if you are walking, if you're lucky, you may get an indicator on your HUD pointing you which way you should go to the nearest base. However, sometimes they're pointing you to a different objective that's further away than where you're trying to go. It's kind of a crapshoot. Now there is one more scenario, but that involves vehicles, so we'll talk about that at the end. You don't have to know that one. After all, you may not always have a vehicle, and I want you ready for anything. But if you know what to do in each of these scenarios I covered, you will always know how to get to the battle, which makes this game so much more enjoyable. You are now a step ahead of most rookie players. I wish someone had spelled all this out for me when I started playing. So now that you know where to go, what do you do when you get there? Well, you have two options: shoot dudes or accomplish objectives. Now these are not mutually exclusive, but you don't even have to bother with the second if you don't want to. So let's focus on number 1, shooting dudes. Okay, now let's talk about the classes. Now even though you have several choices here, I only recommend these classes for new players. Now don't let me discourage you from playing what you want, but these others are a little more nuanced, whereas these are pretty straightforward. And the switch classes, just select from the icons here when you're in the deploy menu. You can switch out at any time. So here's a rundown. First up, light assault. This is your jetpack trooper. If you are brand new to the game and have no idea what you want to do, this is the class I recommend for you. He has a decent gun, it shoots better if you press the aim key, and if you hold down the jump key, you get a jetpack boost. It recharges quickly and you can do it again. And that's all you really need to know. Not too hard, huh? This guy is great for navigating tricky terrain, and if you want to be the first on the scene, this is who you want. And don't let the light part fool you. By default, he has just as much health and armor as the heavy assault. So next we have the heavy assault. This is your heavy weapons guy. Okay, lesson number 1 for playing this class. You have to use your iron sights with this gun. Your machine gun is almost useless unless you use the iron sights and aim like this. You can get away with not aiming with the light assault class, but not this guy. You're better off using your pistol than firing this gun without aiming. But if you do aim, it's pretty good. If you're a fan of suppressing fire, this is the class for you. Look at that, 100-round belt and 3 more to go with it. You can fire this gun a long time and make people not want to poke their heads around a corner. And if carrying 400 rounds of ammunition isn't enough, he gets a rocket launcher too. This is the class to play if you want to take down vehicles. Kaboom! Finally, this guy has an extra shield as a special ability. If you're under fire or you're about to turn a dangerous corner, turn this shield on and it can save your life. It's not perfect, it drains slowly, it depletes as soon as you take a lot of damage, it slows you down, it makes you super visible, but it can make a big difference too. This can be a fun class, just remember, aim with the machine gun. Finally, we have the infiltrator. Don't play this guy unless his style is what you're looking for. This guy is for sniping or being a sneaky bastard, or some of both. 2 important tips about sniping. First, when you're aiming through the scope, you'll notice it waves back and forth. You need to hold your breath to steady it. You do that by pressing the run key. The second thing to know is this game is a little like real sniping in that you have bullet drop. Your shots aren't instant and they don't travel in a perfect straight line. The bullets fall in a slight parabolic curve because of the force of gravity. You should have learned about this in middle or high school. What this means is you'll need to aim slightly higher than you would in other games. This guy also has a Predator-style cloaking device. This is great for hiding in between shots or sneaking in bases, but his charge can run out fast and you can't fire your weapon while it's active. Now, if you don't care about sniping, but you really like this cloaking device, I should tell you, you can remain permanently cloaked if you're smart about it. I know that's going to appeal to some of you. If you want to have permanent cloaking, press escape, click on this gun icon, then click on the ability slot here and change that to stalker cloaking. Then press escape again. Now if you do this, you can only use your pistol, but now you can just stand still and you will never run out of cloaking power. When you move, it still drains fast, so it's not practical to have this on all the time, but if you want to creep up on people, you can do a lot with this. Okay, you are now certified by me to shoot dudes. If that's all you want to do, you can stop here. See, once you figure out where to go, the game doesn't have to be that complicated. But if you want to know a little more about actually accomplishing something for your team, or a couple extra tips, then keep watching. So next we have objectives and how to take territory. This isn't too hard in concept. Once you get close to a base, you'll see these letter icons on the minimap or in front of you. Small bases only have one A, large ones go up to D. If you find these letters, that's where the action is going to be. You can take a look at the map, though sometimes they don't always show up. You definitely can't see them from far away. Anyway, the idea is the more of these points you capture, the sooner you take over the base. So how do you capture it? It's not hard. You walk up to it, and you stand there. And that's it. That bar is the territory changing to my team's control. The hardest part about this is finding the terminals, and some of these bases can be a bit maze-like. Now after you've captured the majority of the points, in this case all 1 of them, the base starts to slowly change over to your control, and you can see a timer down here. If you have more people helping you, then this will go faster. I'll time-lapse here, and congratulations! You've now captured the base for your team. You can see on the map here how I cut off territory from the other team. It's ours now. Now I'm making this look easy, but most of the time the other team will be alerted to what you're doing and try to come stop you. So get ready. Now the flip side to this is defending what you have. It's really the same thing. The enemy tries to take over your terminals and you have to shoot them dead before they take your base. Hey, a man's biotech base is his castle. And speaking of defense, remember how I talked about those arrows earlier telling you where to go? Well, if you don't see that anymore and see defend here, that means they want you to stop people from taking those terminals. But hey, don't sweat this stuff. Somebody will eventually take care of it. Just showing up and shooting in the general direction of the enemy does a lot for the team. Okay, those are all the essentials. But if you want just a little extra edge, I'm gonna end this with a few intermediate tips that I think will make the biggest difference. First, most vehicles are bulletproof. These little ATVs aren't, but tanks, Sunderers, and large aircraft are all immune to bullets. Just save your ammo. The small, fast aircraft aren't, so if you're a heavy assault guy and these are pissing you off, you can chip away slowly at them with your machine gun, but in general, you should let the more experienced players take them out. These mech suit guys will take damage from bullets also, but they soak up a lot of them. Really, it's a good rule of thumb to just stay away from enemy vehicles. Don't be a hero unless you have a rocket launcher. Because if you have a rocket launcher, then of course you're the hero. And let's talk about that final scenario for getting to the action. Scenario 8. You want to get to a specific base or battle, but it's just way too far away. Look at this. There's a battle here all the way in the east, but I don't have a spawn point that's even remotely close. Well, if you want to help out, find the nearest base that has a vehicle terminal. Go ahead and press the use key and spawn in the Sunderer. Then drive that sucker all the way over to the battle you want to get to. Here's a time lapse. Then once you get on the outskirts of the battle, not too close so the enemy will see it, find a place out of the way, like behind a rock, and hit the deploy key. Now you've created a spawn point for your team, and everyone who wants to help has an easy door to the base. Use this technique for any base that you're sick of walking all the way over to it. Now, I generally don't recommend vehicles for brand new players just because the terminals can be difficult to find, not all the bases have them, and even then, it can take a long time to bring them to the battle. I think it's discouraging for players who are still learning the ropes. Now, if you're patient and you want a tank, go get a tank. But I'm trying to make this game as accessible as possible. And of course, you can spawn aircraft in places too, but I'm a crappy pilot, so I'm the last person who should be teaching anything about that. And that's it. That's my tutorial for beginners. The knowledge I've given you in this video makes you dangerous in large numbers. Now, I'm sure some veterans are watching this and saying, "What the hell, Ross? You need to talk about loadouts, cert points, shield generators, squads, blah 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 blah." Damn straight I didn't. There's enough to learn as it is. If you like the game, you can always learn more. What I covered will help you get started, have fun, and be effective. Remember, now you're dangerous.